jobs in SEZs, migrant garment factory workers in the Mekong region. My name is Carly, and I am a member of the Mekong Migration Network Secretariat based in Chiang Mai, Thailand. And MMN, in collaboration with the Asian Institute of Technology, which is a university based here in Bangkok, have been collaboratively working over the last 3 years to conduct a research project studying migrant garment factory workers in special economic zones in the Mekong subregion. MMN was founded in 2003 and is a network of civil society organizations and research institutes across the Mekong that work to promote and protect the rights of migrants and their families. So MMN members have been jointly conducting this project with AIT, and some of the staff of our member organizations are here today who have been actively involved in this project for the last 3 years, conducting research, designing the project, analyzing the findings, and developing recommendations. So I would like to introduce our speakers for this evening, starting with Ted Lilia from Legal Support for Children and Women, which is a civil society organization based in Phnom Penh, Cambodia, as well as Sion Pun from Foundation for Education and Development, which is a CSO based here in Thailand, supporting Myanmar migrant workers working in Thailand. He's based in their Mae Sot office. As well as Tidwin from Future Light Center, which is a CSO in Myanmar, supporting workers and Myanmar migrant workers. He will be presenting today in Burmese, and May from AIT will be doing interpretation. Last but not least, I would like to introduce Professor Kyoko Kusakabe from AIT. She's a professor in the Faculty of Gender and Development Studies, and she's been the lead on this project. So the structure of our discussion today will be, I will be presenting the project background, as well as concepts that have framed our research project, and a bit of context for each of the special economic zones that were included in the project. This will be followed by a brief presentation by Professor Kyoko on some of the key findings that emerged. And our speakers from MMN members will be highlighting a couple of key recommendations related to the SEZs across these 3 countries. After this, I will ask a couple of discussion questions to get us started, and then we will open the floor for questions from the audience, as well as following the presentations. If there are any pressing clarification questions, we're happy to take those at that time. Anyways, without further ado, I would also like to mention that this project has been supported by the International Development Research Center of Canada. And what you have in front of you is a copy of the report, as well as a copy of the executive summary. So this report is not quite in final version. There's still some final layouts and editing that needs to be done. But the final version will be put online. We have a project website, which you can find on the back and bottom of the executive summary. As well, it will be posted on the MMN website, which is also on the back of the executive summary in a few weeks. So special economic zones are widely regarded as geographic areas with administration, regulatory, and often fiscal regimes or arrangements that are different, typically more liberal than those of the domestic economy. So the number of SEZs across the years have been increasing dramatically. there were only 9 special economic zones in the world. And by 2015, there were approximately 4,300 SEZs in over 130 countries. The International Labour Organization has estimated that in 2007, there were 68 million workers in SEZs globally, and 56 million, just over 80% of these workers, are based here in Asia. There are many reasons why governments have chosen to establish special economic zones. Some of these reasons include to generate employment opportunities, to capture flows of foreign direct investment, to integrate industries into global value chains, or to set up testing fields or demonstration areas to test nationwide policy reforms. As well, there are a number of reasons and incentives for firms to invest and operate inside special economic zones. These include different financial incentives, such as tax breaks, as well. The infrastructure within SEZs tends to be of a higher quality than relative to outside. Firms can access preferential access to import markets, such as the EU and the US, under the generalized system of preferences. As well, they can access low-cost labor. Special economic zones have had a mixed record of success. This 2015 study by the Asian Development Bank kind of captures this well by talking about the checkered history that these zones have had, explaining that several of the zones established in the 1970s and 1980s were well suited for their times and truly catalytic, while others have remained as enclaves but have generated jobs as well as exports and GDP growth, while numerous others have failed. But hope springs eternal, and policymakers believe that one outstanding success will compensate for a dozen failures. So despite this somewhat cautionary history, countries in the Mekong subregion have been moving forward with SEZ development. So within the greater Mekong subregion, the GMS, SEZs have been established as a mechanism to accelerate industrialization and regional economic integration efforts. So these efforts have been driven by various regional frameworks, programs, and actors, one of which has been the Asian Development Bank, which has been pushing the development of economic corridors across the GMS since 1998. These corridors are regional transportation and trade networks and are large-scale infrastructure, including roads, railways, and power lines that cut across the subregion. Special economic zones have been part of these plans and are developed strategically as intersections or nodes along these corridors. So our study has focused on the garment industry that's being developed inside special economic zones. As we know, the industry is a prominent labor-intensive industry within the subregion. Special economic zones have been attractive locations for this industry as they offer investment privileges, quality infrastructure, and at times weakened labor protections. In 2016, according to the ILO, 62% of global textile and apparel exports were accounted for by Asian countries. Cambodia, Thailand, and Myanmar have been the 3 countries included in this study, and they are significant garment-producing countries in the region. The garment industry and its supply chains are known for exerting downward pressure on wages and working conditions. And in a race to the bottom, buyers are moving from higher cost producing countries to lower cost producing countries. despite many of these buyers proclaiming that they support decent wages and working conditions. So with these contexts and issues in mind, MMN and AIT have been carrying out a research and advocacy project with the primary objective of promoting policies and practices that enhance the empowerment of women migrant workers in garment factories in Mekong special economic zones. So in addition to the three organizations that are here today, MAP Foundation, Yangchiu Workers Association, as well as Labor Rights Promotion Network, or other MMN project partners that have been involved with this research. Sorry, I can go back if you'd like to take a picture. To explore the existing policies and practices that have shaped the working and living conditions of women migrant workers, 4 case studies of special economic zones were developed. So this study has looked at Tilawa SEZ, which is close to Yangon in Myanmar, as well as Phnom Penh Special Economic Zone in Cambodia, and Manhattan Special Economic Zone, which is located in Bavet district of Svay Rieng province, close to the border with Vietnam, as well as Tak Special Economic Zone here in Thailand, which includes the border town of Mae Sot and is along the Myanmar-Thai border. So situated in border regions, both Tak and Manhattan SEZ were selected to investigate the impact of precarious labor arrangements, which are more characteristic of border regions. As well, in Tak SEZ, we've been looking at the situation of cross-border migrant workers, while in Myanmar and in Cambodia, we've been studying internal migrant workers. Tilawa and Phnom Penh SEZs are both located in close proximity to major urban centers, which include Yangon and Phnom Penh, and as I mentioned, are very much dependent or soon to be dependent on internal migrants, and these have acted as sites of comparison to the border regions. These 4 zones were also selected because of the high concentration of garment factories relative to other SEZs. In terms of our data collection process, project partners carried out questionnaires, in-depth interviews with workers, as well as key informant interviews with various stakeholders, which has influenced our findings and recommendations. So I will just briefly present some context about each of the zones to help better frame the discussion moving forward. So Tilawa SEZ is located 23 kilometers southeast of Yangon. In December 2012, the governments of Myanmar and Japan signed a memorandum of cooperation to develop the zone. 47% of the investors currently are from Japan. As well, there have been 96 factories that are approved to operate, 6 of which are garment factories, and 50 factories are currently in operation as of July of last year. And 6,220 workers were also employed in the SEZ at this time. Many of the workers who are currently working in the factories are from the neighboring townships. However, there's an increasing number of internal migrants coming from other states and regions as the local workforce has become more depleted. So in Cambodia, all of the special economic zones are owned, developed, and managed by private investors, which can include local, foreign, and joint venture companies. Phnom Penh Special Economic Zone received a license to operate in 2006, and is developed by a Cambodia-Japan joint venture company. According to the zone management, 49% of the total factories are Japanese companies, and there are 91 manufacturing factories. It was also estimated that there are around 18,500 workers working inside the zone, the majority of whom are internal migrant workers from other provinces. Turning to Manhattan SEZ along the Vietnam-Cambodia border. It was established in 2005 by Taiwanese investors. As of this year, there were 33 factories, and the investors are largely from Taiwan, followed by mainland China. According to the Provincial Department of Employment, 95% of the workers working in the district's special economic zones are from villages from the surrounding area. However, our study has included a higher number of internal migrants, despite the fact that most of the workers are local workers. And then turning to Thailand's TAC Special Economic Zone. It's located roughly 400 kilometers northwest of Bangkok. It includes the border town of Mae Sot, which is adjacent to the Myanmar border town of Myawaddy. Prior to the development of the SEZ, Mae Sot has been a significant site of export-oriented industries that are heavily reliant on cross-border Myanmar migrant workers. Thailand is currently in the process of developing 10 special economic zones in border regions. However, the concept of SEZs is not new in Thailand. But over the years, there has been the development of special investment promotion zones and special border economic zones, supported by various national economic and social development plans, as well as through different fiscal incentives from the Board of Investment. However, the development of these more fully fledged special economic zones with centralized administrative channels didn't take off until 2014. There's a quote that is included on the slide from a broadcast in May 2014 by General Prayut Chan-o-cha saying that special economic zones will be established to support small factories along Thailand's borders and rural areas. This is to provide economic opportunities not only for Thais, but also our neighbors, which can help prevent illegal migrants from crossing into inner provinces of Thailand, thereby giving more work opportunities to Thai nationals. So in order to attract investment and to alleviate labor shortages in Thailand, the Thai government has been adopting policies sanctioning the short-term or temporary employment of migrant workers in specific special economic zone provinces, as well as limiting their movement to other areas of Thailand. So this has been done under what is called Section 64 of the Royal Ordinance on the Management of Foreign Workers' Employment from 2017. And details on this policy and its impacts on migrant workers will be shared more by our panelists from FED. Since the designation of TAC as a special economic zone, there's been a lot of spending on infrastructure development. As well, 13 target industries are designated for Thailand's SEZs, which do include textile and garment. And TAC SEZ includes all 13 as target industries. Between 2015 and 2017, there were 28 investors in TAC Special Economic Zone, largely from Thailand, Taiwan, mainland China, Japan, Korea, and India. So I would now like to turn it over to Professor Kyoko, who will share some of the key findings that emerged from this research.
Thank you very much. Our research have 4 large area of findings. The first one is about working conditions. So you can see here, I think across different countries. So you can see here that the working condition situation actually differs across SEZ. So it's not that all SEZ are very good or all SEZ are very bad. And so you can see here, like Phnom Penh, Manhattan, Cambodia, is quite good. Yeah, so in the sense that they do all this statutory working condition they kind of meet. Yeah, so minimum wage, this paid leaves and all that they fulfill because that is the condition there in order to export garments. So in order to export garments, they have to have the certification for better factory scheme. So in order to export, so that's why it's a requirement for them. So that's why they have that. In Tinawa is a little bit more sensitive. They kind of feel that SEZ is very visible. So they try to get it as much as possible. So it's a little bit shaky, but then we do see that relatively the wages and the leaves are good. Whereas in Thailand, Maison, it's quite bad. Yeah, so they don't pay minimum wage, the leaves are not given, so all these working conditions are quite bad. So there are, one thing that we see is that they're the same in SZ. And another one that we also want to see is the trade union. Trade union is actually problematic in all areas. Even though Phnom Penh, Manhattan, they have a high level of union membership, but then actually the trade union law has made it very difficult for smaller union to gain members. So all this union membership is basically more employer sanctioned trade unions. So because if you don't have this most representative status, and then you don't get to have the trade union status. So this one is the SEZ in Tinawa. Even though the minimum wage is better, is achieved, but then with the increase in minimum wage, the work intensity goes up. So that's another problem that we have. So we don't see that in figures, but then actually workers feel that. And then this is about the trade union. So you can see here how it is difficult to become or actively involved in unions. Both in Tinawa and Cambodia, they say that they are very afraid. In Cambodia, the workers' rights organization say that how difficult it is to recruit workers to become union members nowadays. The third issue is about skills development. Because this is quite important for us because garment factory workers ever since the 1980s, we have been talking about how these unskilled, semi-skilled garment factory workers. And then that is really the problem. Yeah. So, but then we have been discussing that for like several decades already, but nothing has changed so far. We do need to look at the skills because workers are actually very, very confident about their skills. They say that if you do the self-assessment, I am like 80%, yeah, among the 100. So they are very confident that I can do this, I can sew this, I can sew very fast. So they are very confident. That's why that means that the skills, they do recognize themselves. However, that is not being recognized by the employers. There's hardly any promotion. The longer you work with the factory, you don't really get the higher pay. So it's always minimum wage. So it doesn't get reflected in the pay. So that's another problem about the skills not being recognized. So in some cases, even if they work longer years, still their pay is even lower than before. The fourth issue that we want to talk about is childcare. Again, childcare is something that has been not been neglected for garment factory workers for a long time, also for migrant workers as well, because there is a myth that children can be taken by grandmothers and other women back home. Yeah, so all these left behind children and the distant motherhood, so all these children being left behind and then be taken care of by other women has always been the kind of image and myth that has been going on. Now, in our study, that has not been the case because you can see here like Chilawat, Thap, around half of the migrant workers are actually taking care of their children themselves. Yeah, they don't really, half of them do not rely on other women. So that means that they must be either quitting the job, taking a long leave, or so they must be having some kind of arrangement. So that has not really been captured or addressed quite well. It's only in Phnom Penh that they are not able to take care of themselves, most probably because of the housing issue. There's not so much good housing around Phnom Penh. But then at the same time, what we see here that so Phnom Penh, they do not take care of themselves, their children by themselves, but that's why they remit a lot. You can see here that almost everybody remits back home and remits quite a larger sum of money compared to other areas. So the percentage of remittances is quite heavy. So you can see here that instead of taking care of themselves, they remit much more. And so this kind of caring of children as well as caring for other members of the family. So this care work has been very much neglected, even though, like for example, some women do take it very much as a personal responsibility that they do need to take care of the family themselves. Like one woman have said that they have taken much lower pay in order to take care of the mother. So as a very rough summary, we see here that SEZ is not uniform. It's not that because of SEZ it's better or worse, that is we cannot say. But what is very important is how the government and the factories or the employers try to use the workers for their own needs. Meaning that, for example, in Cambodia, they try to use the workers and their working condition as a way to get a niche market. Yeah, so that's why they really need to show to the buyers that it's good. Yeah, it's not that they really care for the workers, but then they really need to show to the others that we are treating them good, because they also suppress the trade union in one hand, but then they give us a statutory minimum to on the other hand. On the other hand, like CAC, they do not have that kind of requirement. So how they frame the workers is that these are disposable workers. It's better to have a cheaper labor. So that is the way that the workers are framed. So how the workers are framed is very important to know when we try to understand how SEZ affects and shapes working condition. Another topic on issue on child care work is this. We have to really question that there is this myth of grandmother taking care of children. We do need that does not really happen automatically, and then we do need to introduce some child care facilities for migrant workers.
Thank you, Kyoko. I would like to now turn it over to Sai Omton from Foundation for Education and Development to share key recommendations that emerged from the study on PAC and special economics.
Thank you, Kali. As you look at the map, you will see PAC is in Mesos, and it's a small Mesos. It's a special economic zone established. They have a and here is the entrance for Myawaddy and Mesos border friendship bridge. But this is the old one. But for the special economic zone, they will have a trade delivering, so they have a second bridge building, but still not open yet. So before going to section 64. Section 64 is also a form of border pass. Border pass, there's two type of border pass, like for visiting, like 7 day. For anybody can come to Thailand in the border area for 7 days and stay at between 7 days, and you can buy product and you can visit any place. For the working is section 64. We call it section 64. The blue one is kind of like different from the visiting one. It's for working. The difference for the visiting border pass, they only for short term, very like 1 week, and visit and buy the product. For the section 64, after the like Kali said at the first slide, that's in 2014, the Rail Ordinance and Employment Management. So that's for the application of the section 64 for wider than before. And also it's only for like intact area. Intact area, they can go like Mesa, Propa, Myanmar in 3 different districts. And migrant worker also like they can extend the type of their working. Before they can work for only seasonal crops. Now they extend more for like factory and also other work, and also including like manual and domestic work. So applying section 64, this one is for Myanmar side. Migrant worker need to have like Myanmar household registration and Myanmar ID and also the passport photo. For the Myanmar registration, in Myanmar side it estimate cost like around 1,000 baht, depend on different broker other things. Is the full cost of section 64 for the health check, like they can check the health for 500 baht. Like this health check for the doctor recommendation they can use for at least for 1 year. And health insurance, there are 3 different type of health insurance, like 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and also 1 year. But here is 3 types. And also work permit. Work permit for 3 months, 225 baht, and also application fee is like 100 baht, and visa like 500 baht per year. For the section 64 is different from other documents like CI, before it's a temporary and PIN card, and MOU is different. For the section 64, you can, migrant worker can come and apply anytime. They have no open and close registration. They also, this document is designed for a short term for seasonal worker but after SEZs was announced, it's working for longer. Like for the factory worker, they work for like years, at least more than 1 year. Some factory worker they work for like around 10 years, more than 10 years. So they can apply for longer working periods. And also it's listed for only 3 districts in Tak province, in Mesa, Propa, and Myanmar. Mainly most factories are based in Mesa. As the challenges, mostly migrant workers face the challenges like they have to extend their visa, they have to go back to Myanmar side, like across the border, across the bridge every month, like 1 month one time, and they can the time immigration will stamp like 1 month visa, like 30 days, and they have to cross and come back. So for this one, why is a challenge? Because most of the factory workers, the employer has a lot of employees, so the employer keep the passport, and also so they hire the broker, and they cannot, migrant worker itself, they cannot go to Myanmar every month. So that is the main challenge for them. But I will talk the challenge later. The Department of Employment, they issue like 3 months work permits and can extend for the next 3 months. They didn't issue like other document like CI. They can get work permit for 2 years when they apply it, but for Section 64 they can only get like 3 months. For health insurance, they can apply for 3 months, like 9 months or 1 year. They can apply for it. They can buy the health insurance for 1 year. And also, it's difficult to get the Myanmar household registration. Mainly, in law, is that only Myanmar registration can register. In Myanmar law, they cannot. For Thai, they have no limits, but for Myanmar, they limit that only Myanmar resident can apply for Section 64 and come to work in the border area. But mainly in Mekong, migrant workers, they come from other regions like Bago, Rangoon, Irrawaddy, and other regions in Myanmar. So it's difficult for them. We have two views, like employer views and worker view. For the employer view, they like this document. They like it very much because they can hire a worker through the regular channel. They can hire a worker anytime they want, and also it restricts the mobility of the worker. They cannot go outside of the limited area. They cannot go to Bangkok. They cannot come to Bangkok. They cannot go to Mahachai. They cannot go to other province. So it's the favorite. You can keep the worker in the area. And they also no need to pay for the social security, like for 5%. In the factory, they have a lot of like 100 workers, 1,000 workers, so they don't need to pay for social security for each individual worker. So, and the next one is like they can terminate the contract because the work permit they can only apply for 3 months and extend. Right? So if they don't like this worker, they can stop hiring easily. And the worker view, like they can work in Thailand. Anybody they can come to work in Thailand anytime. It's good for them. But they cannot go to work other province. But this is only limited area and limited like working zones. So and they also face like Myanmar household registration. They have to transfer their household registration to Myanmar to get a Myanmar household registration in order to apply for Section 64. So it's a lot of difficulty for them to get the Myanmar household registration. And they don't get benefit from Social Security. The same like the last slide, employer like it because they can stop hire, but for the worker, it's a risk for them. It's a higher risk. They don't know like at the next 3 months, are they still hire or they don't have a job. This is kind of like high risk for them and less security. So, yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sayonta. Tip Win Ang from Future Light Center in Myanmar will now speak about some of the key recommendations that emerged from the study in relation to Tulawa SEZ.
Hello.
Model ကျွန်တော်တို့ကမြန်မာရှိတဲ့အထူးကလေးငယ်တောက်ချောက်တွေနဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးတော့ပြောပြချင်ပါတယ်ပေါ့နော်။ မြန်မာပြည်မှာဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ကျွန်တော်တို့နိုင်ငံနဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးတော့1950ဥပဒေကို2016မှာပြန်လည်ပြင်ဆင်ထားတဲ့ဥပဒေကိုပြင်ဆင်ချက်တစ်ခုရှိတယ်။အဲ့ဒါကလုပ်ငန်းခွင်ထဲမှာမှာတော့9နှစ်အောက်ကလေး100နဲ့ရှိတဲ့အိမ်အောင်ကလေးအမျိုးသမီးမိကလေးမိခင်တွေရှိခဲ့လို့ရှိတယ်။ဒါမှလုပ်ပြရတဲ့ဆိုတော့စိတ်ရောက်နေမှာပဲကလေးတကယ်ပြုစုတောက်ရေးအခန်းနဲ့ထားရှိပြရမယ်ဆိုပြီးတော့ပါရှိတယ်ပေါ့နော်။
The first key recommendation for Myanmar is tiger. In the law is amended the 1951 Myanmar Factory Act. If there is 100 women worker with the time age under 6 year, age under 5 year, the factory have to provide the suitable room for the tiger.
Hello.
ကျွန်တော်စာပေတောင်းကြည့်တဲ့အခါကျတော့ဒီလိုကအကြီးဆုံးမှာရှိတဲ့အကြီးဆုံးမှာရှိတဲ့ကလေးရှိတဲ့အိမ်အောင်ရှိတဲ့မျိုးသမီးတွေအနေနဲ့ဒီဟာကိုခံစားရရှိကြလို့အခြေအနေမျိုးကျွန်တော်မတွေ့ရဘူးပေါ့နော်
But in our survey results, there is no respondent. There is no respondent who receives the tiger service.
ဘာဖြစ်လို့လဲဆိုတော့အရင်မူလ1950ဥပဒေမှာဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ကလေးအယောက်50နဲ့အထက်6မြောက်ကလေးအယောက်50နဲ့အထက်ရှိတဲ့ကလေးမိခင်တွေဟာဆိုလို့ရှိရင်စက်ရုံတွေမှာကလေးတငယ်ပြုစုတောက်ရေးနဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးတော့ခံစား권နဲ့အများကြီးရရှိမယ်ဆိုပြီးတော့ပါရှိတယ်ပေါ့အခုလက်ရှိ2016မှာပြန်ပြင်လိုက်တဲ့ဥပဒေကအရေးအတွက်တွေပို့ပြီးတိုးပြလိုက်တဲ့အခါမှာဒီကလေးရှိတဲ့မိခင်တွေအနေနဲ့ဒီအခွင့်အရေးတွေပို့ပြီးတော့ခံစားရရှိဖို့အတွက်အခက်အခဲတွေများသွားတာပို့တွေ့ရတယ်ပေါ့နော်
In the old law, the 1951 Myanmar Factory Act, if there is 50 women worker with the time age under 6 year, they have to provide the suitable room for the tiger service. But the new law, they increase the number of women worker, so this is very difficult for the women worker.
လက်တွေ့မှာလည်းဥပမာဆိုကျွန်တော်တို့မြန်မာနိုင်ငံမှာရှိတဲ့လောက်ခေါ်စာတွေမှာဆိုလို့ရှိရင်လူသမီးတွေနဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးတော့တက်ရကန့်တတ်မှုတွေနဲ့ပတ်သက်တာတွေနေတော်ရေးအခြေအနေနဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးတော့ကန့်တတ်ခေါ်တာမျိုးတွေတွေ့ရတယ်။ဒါတွေဘာဖြစ်လာလဲဆိုတော့နောက်ပိုင်းမှာဆိုလို့အမျိုးသမီးတယောက်ကကလေးရှိတာပြီးဆိုရင်သူကလုပ်ငန်းခွင်တွေနဲ့အလွယ်တကူဝင်ရောက်နိုင်ခွင့်အရန်ကိုတက်ခဲသွားတယ်ပေါ့။လူသမီးရဲ့လုပ်ရပိုင်ခွင့်တွေလူမှုရေးခံစားခွင့်တွေကိုဖယ်ထုတ်လိုက်လို့ဖြစ်နေတာမျိုးတွေတွေ့ရတယ်ပေါ့။
In British, we can see that if the woman have the time, they face the discrimination and social exclusion in their workplace. That is happening in the job vacancy, job recruiting system. They have to be single. They have to be the age between 18 to 25.
ဒါတော့ကျွန်တော်မြန်မာနိုင်ငံမှာဆိုလို့ရှိရင်သူစီးပွားရေးစုံတွေကစတင်တောင်းတဲ့ပေါ်ဆောင်တဲ့ဆဲကာလမှာရှိတာလေအဲ့တော့အကြီးစီးပွားရေးစုံစတင်တောင်းတဲ့ပေါ်မှာလည်းကျွန်တော်တို့ခုနပြောလို့အိမ်တော်ရှိတဲ့လူတွေအတွက် time and service တွေ place နဲ့သူစောက်ချောက်ရေးစံတာတွေပါထားရှိပြီးလောက်ဆောင်နိုင်ပုံကောင်းပါပဲဆိုပြီးတော့ကျွန်တော်အခုစာပေတွေ့ရှိချက်တွေရတော့သူစီးပွားရေးစုံကောင်းပြီးကိုကျွန်တော်အကြံပြုတာလို့ရှိတယ်
Therefore, I would like to recommend for the zone committee, according to our survey results, it can be more better for the women worker if they provide the tiger service in the workplace properly.
လုပ်ငန်းရှင်တွေနေလည်းကျုံးနေနေတဲ့လုပ်ငန်းရှင်တွေဖြစ်ဖို့ကျွန်တော်မြန်မာပြည်မှာရှိပြီးသားဥပဒေအတိုင်းပေါ့နော်လိုက်ဒေတာလိုင်းတာကိုအင်အောင်ရှိတဲ့လူသမီးတွေကိုလှုပ်ခေါ်တဲ့အခါမှာမဖယ်ထုတ်ဘဲနဲ့သူတို့ကပါဝင်ပတ်သက်ခွင့်ရအောင်လုပ်ဆောင်ပေးဖို့လိုအပ်တယ်ပေါ့နော်
That providing the tiger service may be the good image for the investor as the ethical investment, and it may be prevention for the social exclusion and discrimination for the local women worker.
ဒုတိယတစ်ခုကကျွန်တော်တို့ကြည့်ပါကလွတ်လပ်စွာတင်ပြဖွဲ့ပြီးဝင်တဲ့လွတ်လပ်စွာတော့ဝင်ဆိုင်ရာပြဿနာအကြီးတက်နေတာလို့ရှိတယ်ပေါ့နော်
The second recommendation is for the freedom or association and freedom or expression. It is the big issue in Myanmar.
ဘာလို့ကျွန်တော်ဒီလိုလူစီးပွားရေးဆောင်မှာကျွန်တော်စာပေကောက်ကြည့်တဲ့အခါမှာဒီမှာသမဂ္ဂနဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးတော့တစ်ခုမှမရှိတာတွေ့ရတယ်။ဒီမှာသမဂ္ဂအကြောင်းလည်းဒီမှာမသိရှိတာမျိုးကျွန်တော်တွေ့ရတယ်။
According to our survey results, there is no labor union in the Delaware SEZs, and the worker doesn't know about their right and their right.
တကယ်လို့ဥပမာဆိုပါတော့အခုစီးပွားရေးစုံမှာရှိတဲ့လူမိုင်းနဲ့လူမသမကဖွဲ့ဖို့ကိုသူတို့ကိုယ်တိုင်ကလည်းကြောက်နေတာမျိုးတွေ့ရတယ်။ဘာလို့ဆိုတော့အခြားစက်ရုံမှာလိုင်းသားရတို့ရှင်ပြည်သားတို့မှာရှိတဲ့လူမသမကခေါင်းဆောင်တွေလူမသမကဖွဲ့တဲ့အခါမှာလုံလုံခံရတယ်လုပ်ငန်းခွင်တွေဆွဲချဆက်ဆံခံရတယ်။နောက်ဆုံးသူတို့ရဲ့အခွင့်အရေးတွေထုတ်ပေါ်တောင်းဆိုတဲ့အခါမှာဖန်တီးချင်းချင်းခံရတဲ့အခြေအနေကြောင့်ကျွန်တော်လူမိုင်းကိုမေးကြည့်တဲ့အခါမှာလူမသမကဖွဲ့ဖို့စိတ်ဝင်စားလူမသမကဖွဲ့ရမှာသူတို့ကိုယ်တိုင်ကြောက်နေတဲ့အခြေအနေမျိုးကိုကျွန်တော်တွေ့ရတယ်ပေါ့
The workers are afraid to found the labor union because they see their serious problem in other industries like Nigeria, Srivita. If the worker trying to found the labor union, they face the condition of termination, dismissal, and also they try for expression of their right. They face the condition of the arrest, action, and termination.
မြန်မာနိုင်ငံကILO Convention 87တော့လက်မှတ်ထိုးထားတယ်2017ဥပဒေမှာလည်းအလုံးမမကအတင်းနဲ့အလုံးမမကဖွဲ့စည်းမှုတရားဝင်ပြဋ္ဌာန်းပေးထားတယ်။ဒါပေမဲ့လက်တွေ့မှာပြဋ္ဌာန်းချက်တွေဘယ်လောက်ပဲလက်မှတ်ထိုးထားတာဥပဒေတွေဘယ်လောက်ပဲပြဋ္ဌာန်းပေးထားတာကျွန်တော်တို့အလုံးသမားတွေကအလုံးမမကဖွဲ့စည်းဖို့စတင်စည်းရုံးတဲ့အဆင့်မှာပဲအလုံးပြုတ်ခံနေရတဲ့အခြေအနေမျိုးတွေကြုံတွေ့နေရတယ်။
Myanmar ratified the ILO Convention number 87, and they also established for the labor organization law in 2011, but they faced the serious condition to form the labor union.
So ကျွန်တော်တို့အများပြောနေရပါအဲ့လို Convention 87ရှိတယ်နောက်ဆက်တွဲနိုင်ခဲ့ရှိတယ်အကောင်ကိုကျွန်တော်တို့အနေနဲ့မလုပ်ဘူးလေဆိုမြန်မာအစိုးရအနေနဲ့ဟောတိပတ်ပြီးပြီးတော့လုပ်ငန်းရှင်အနေနဲ့တိပတ်ပြီးပြီးတော့ကျွန်တော်တို့အလုံးမအဖွဲ့အစည်းအနေနဲ့အများနဲ့တောင်းဆိုနေရှိတယ်ပေါ့
So the worker organization always demand to recognize and enforce these law and convention in the industrial law.
အထူးသဖြင့်လုံးမှာရှိတဲ့လုပ်ငန်းရှင်တွေအနေနဲ့လည်းအလုံးမသမဂ္ဂတွေဖွဲ့စည်းခွင့်တွေခွင့်ပြုပေးဖို့အလုံးမသမဂ္ဂဖွဲ့စည်းဖို့တွေစီယုံလုံးတော်ဝင်တွေပေးဖို့နဲ့အခုကဖွဲ့စည်းတာတဲ့အလုံးမသမဂ္ဂတွေနဲ့ပူးပေါင်းပြီးတော့ကောင်းမွန်တဲ့လုပ်ငန်းခွင်အခြေအနေတွေဖြစ်အောင်တည်ဆောက်ပေးဖို့တည်ဆောက်နိုင်ပိုကောင်းတဲ့ internet relation တစ်ခုဖြစ်လာမယ်ဆိုတဲ့အားမျိုးကျွန်တော်တို့အကြံပြုချင်တယ်ပေါ့နော်
So, according to our research, we would like to recommend for the employer to allow to form the labor union. It may be better for the internal relation and for both worker and also employer.
နောက်တစ်ခုကတကယ်လို့အလုံးမသမဂ္ဂတွေဖွဲ့လာခဲ့လို့ရှင်လေကျွန်တော်တို့မှဖွဲ့စည်းထားတဲ့ဥပဒေတွေရှိတယ်လက်မှတ်ထိုးတာလက်မှတ်ထိုးတာကြာခံချက်တွေရှိတယ်အဲ့တိုင်းပဲအလုံးရှင်အစုံကော်မတီနဲ့အာမခံချက်တွေပြီးတော့ကာကွယ်ပေးဖို့လိုအပ်တယ်ဆိုတဲ့အားတွေကျွန်တော်တို့တင်ပြထားရရှိတယ်
And some community and government also should be recognize these ILO convention and law, and they should be provide for the right to forming their labor union and organization.
Thank you.
Thank you to Wenam and Bang. Now, Milia Tep from Legal Support for Children and Women from Cambodia will present some of the key recommendations that emerged from our studies of both Phnom Penh and Manhattan SEZs.
Thank you, Kali. Okay, I will show you about the law on the trade union and childcare center. For the Cambodia, the most representative status. Yeah. 2016 law on trade union with the should have a 30% more of the total worker as a member and more article from the labor law. In the private, at least one women or girls has to build a daycare center and nursery room or pay for the workers. Okay. colleague here is I can show you about the law of Cambodia, and next slide I will show you about the challenges. So why the law? Why we have many challenges like lack of the enforcement, low trust from worker are afraid to lose their job, low level of skill, lack of the certain knowledge, employer pay money to worker instead of building the child care center. And the last challenges is some refectory are child care center, but they are nurse to take care of their children. So the recommend from to address the challenges, the government should. Government from Ministry of Labor and vocational training and relevant institute must review and improve the implementation of the law and build trust with the worker and capacity building worker. This point, that if you look at the challenge, the point, some workers are afraid to lose their job when they complain any problem with or they feel like to lose a job when they do this strict action, and they say no, I really don't like to do this. I scared to I scared to lose my job. So they still feeling so afraid about this. So maybe we need a specialist person that can explain them about the issue and build capacity building more about it. You must study about this. Your benefit, the rights, it's not their right or their benefit lies employer. And the last recommendation is the control more functioning center and inventory and community. According to respondent from the answer from respondent in SEZs, there wasn't trade union in SEZs, so sometimes they difficult to make complaint and they can't claim anything about the OT time, so they don't know how to complain about this. At the moment they ask me, but I just recommend some of them to ask the group leader that they in February there are no trade union, but there are many group leaders in the factory. So some group leaders do not have anymore. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. So it's 7 o'clock, we have 30 minutes. We would like to have a bit of a discussion amongst all of the speakers as well as with you, as I'm sure there are people in the audience who are also very familiar with these issues, concepts. We have prepared one question to kind of start us off, but I would like to know first if there are any clarification questions related to any of the things you've heard that anyone would like to ask now. Otherwise, we'll take questions soon. Yeah.
So in the last presentation, there was a recommendation that certain regulations are followed within the special economic zone. So I just wanted a bit of clarification about which regulations, national regulations in each of the countries, the special economic zones have to follow, because it's a little bit unclear to me. I understand the wages can be lowered, it's a bit more liberal, but how does that fit in with a national policy or regulation?
Yes, too. So the question is about whether the national policies of each of these countries apply to the special economic zones, or if there are maybe different policies that impact operations, labor inside the zones.
So everybody is also thinking that maybe I can start because it's very clear. There clearly states that SEZs have to follow national laws and regulations. So that's kind of a minimum. So that's why like Tinawa Tang SEZ is actually problematic because they're not really following the national law. But then of course because they are over across border migrants, and that's another issue. But then for example Tinawa, but then what SEZ can do is actually they can do above the national regulation. So for example, what Tinawa did was that because like not in the law but in the practice, what in Myanmar what they have is what they call probation period. So during the probation period they are paid low, like 50% of the wage. But then in Tinawa, what they say is that they abolish. So among them, the factory owners, they have come to agreement saying that in Tinawa, SEZ, we're not going to pay low wages during the probation period, but we'll still pay minimum wage. So that kind of thing, it is possible to do.
Does anyone else want to add anything to that question?
ကျွန်တော်ဒီလိုမှာဆိုရင်ဒီလိုဟာဒီပွဲစုံနဲ့ပတ်သက်တဲ့ဇုံဥပဒေဆိုတာတော့တက်ရှိတယ်။အဲဒီမှာလည်းအလုပ်သမားရေးနဲ့ပတ်သက်တဲ့ကြားထားတယ်။ဒါပေမဲ့သမားရေးနဲ့ပတ်သက်လို့ရှိရင်ဒီမှာပြည်အလုပ်သမားဥပဒေတိုင်းပဲဒီပွဲစုံညာလည်းလိုက်နာတယ်ဆိုတာကြားပါလာတယ်။ဟိုလာတာနဲ့လာတာကိစ္စနဲ့ပတ်သက်ရတော့တော့လုပ်ရင်လုပ်ပိုင်းရဲ့အရင်ကဥပဒေချင်းနဲ့ပတ်သက်ရတော့တော့အကုန်လုံးကဒီမြန်မာပြည်မှာရှိတဲ့ဒီတဲ့အလုပ်သမားဥပဒေတိုင်းပဲကိစ္စလိုက်နာတယ်ဆိုပြီးပါလာတယ်။အဲ့တော့ဒီမှာမှာရှိတဲ့စေဝင်မှာလည်းလောကလာတာ၄တောင်အနည်းဆုံးလောကလာတာ၄တောင်ရှိရဖို့ကြောက်တယ်ဒီလိုဟာအတူတူပဲဆိုမှလည်း၄တောင်ရှိရဖို့ပေးတာ
For Myanmar, the lower special economic zones and other special economic zones have to follow the national statutory labor law and others law. And they also have the special economic zone law that for the labor dispute case and for the minimum wage, they have to follow the national statutory labor law.
Thank you. So the question that we had prepared to kind of start our discussion is very similar in that this project is looking at the impacts that special economic zones are having on working conditions and living conditions. So we wanted to ask our speakers, researchers, what they feel are the differences between labor inside versus outside of the zones, and whether the special economic zone mechanisms are having particular impacts on these situations. So I think a lot of the things we looked at in terms of wages, occupational health and safety, transportation, there are issues that exist, as we know, related to garment factory workers outside of special economic zones too. So if there's anything else you wanted to add about how special economic zones are particularly impacting some of the findings from this study.
တော့ကျွန်တော်မြန်မာနိုင်ငံမှာကဥပမာလူတွေတော့လည်းအခုမှစပြီးတော့ကောင်းတဲ့ပေါ်ဆောင်တဲ့ကာလပဲရှိတယ်ပေါ့ကျွန်တော်အခုတူလေးလာတော့တဲ့တုံးကန်တော့တူလေးလာတာတဲ့တုံးကန်နားမှာဆိုလို့ရှိရင်တော့အောက်တက်မှာရှိတဲ့အခြားစမှုစုံတွေနဲ့ဒီလိုလူကြီးပိုင်းစုံမှာရှိတဲ့စမှုစုံတွေအခြေအနေကတော့ရလူသားအခြေအနေကတော့ပုံတူပဲအခွင့်အရေးချိုးဖောက်ခံရမှုတွေလောကလာတာနေဆုံးဖြစ်နေတာမျိုးတွေလုပ်ငန်းခွင်တွေကခွဲခြားဆက်ဆံခံရမှုတွေလုပ်ငန်းခွင်အုပ်ချုပ်ရေးရန်ရာတွေတပုံစံနဲ့ပဲသိကွာခြားတာမျိုးတွေမတွေ့ရဘူးပေါ့နည်းနည်းကွာဝါတာကလောကလာတာဒီလိုလူကြီးပိုင်းစုံမှာဆိုလို့ရှိရင် OT မရှိဘူး OT မရှိတဲ့အတွက်လောကလာတာနည်းနည်းပုံနေအကြမ်းဆုံးတွေမှာက OT တွေရန်များတယ် OT အများတဲ့အတွက်လောကလာတာနည်းနည်းပုံများတယ်ဆိုတာမျိုးတွေတွေ့ရတယ်ပေါ့လူမောင်ခွင့်ရေးခြင်းနေရဆိုတဲ့ပုံတူပဲအတင်းတွေဖွဲ့စည်းခွင့်တွေမရှိဘူးသူတို့ရဲ့အခွင့်အရေးနဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးတောင်းဆိုခွင့်တွေမရှိဘူးဟုတ်တော့ဒီလိုမှရှိတဲ့လူတွေတော်တော်များများကလုပ်တဲ့ပြည်ပတွေဖြစ်ကြတယ်သူတို့အလုပ်ကိုင်ဝန်ထမ်းတွေတောင်းဆိုမှအရန်ကြောက်ပါတယ်ဒီအရင်ကသူတို့စိုက်ဝေးကဏ္ဍမှာတစ်ခုပဲလုပ်နေရတဲ့ဒါတွေအထက်တို့စမှုလုံးတွေပေါ်လာတော့အထက်တို့ကဏ္ဍတွေရောက်လာကြဒုက္ခလာတာအရန်ရဲ့စာတော့သူ့မှာပို့ပြီးတော့ရလာတယ်ပေါ့အဲ့ဒါသူတို့ကအရန်အလုပ်ချုပ်ခံရမှာကြောက်တယ်
In Myanmar, special economic zones are newly established status, so there is no difference from the other industrial zones in the case of labor right and the forming of the labor union, but before the forming the special economic zones in Dilawa, the local people have to work only in agricultural sector. After forming the Dilawa SEZs zone, they can do in the lower SEZs zone, especially for the women, they can do in garment factory. So the income for this region is increased, and also the lower SEZs zone have no OT, so there is a little bit higher wage in this place. But other industrial zones have the OT, so they can get as much as they can work.
ဒီလိုလောကလာကနေပြီပဲကျွန်တော်စာပေကောင်းကြည့်တဲ့အခါမှာဒီလိုဘာလူတွေကစိတ်ကျင်တဲ့ပြောချင်နေတာမျိုးတွေ့ရတယ်ပေါ့။ဟောကျွန်တော်ဒီမှာအခြားသူတွေမှာဆို migration နဲ့ရန်များတယ်။အခြားနေရတဲ့ migration ရန်များတော့သူတို့ရတဲ့လောကလာစာကိုတော့သူတို့တာသူပြန်ထောက်တာမျိုးတွေအရန်များတယ်။ဒါပေမဲ့ဒီလိုမှရှိသူတွေကသူတို့ရတဲ့လောကလာစာနဲ့သူတို့စိတ်ကျင်နေတဲ့အတိုင်းကသူတို့ကျွန်တော်တို့တွေ့ရတယ်ပေါ့။
According to our research, we can see that the worker in the lower SEZs are local people, so they satisfy their wages because they don't have to be transferred to their family like the other migrant worker. ကျွန်တော်ပြန်ပါဆိုရင်တော့ဟောဆိုအခြားအောက်ဆိုင်မှာရှိတဲ့လူဒီဘွားစုံစက်မှုစုံတွေနဲ့ဒီလိုလူဒီဘွားရေးစုံမှာဒီလိုလူဒီဘွားရေးစုံမှာရှိတဲ့အလုပ်သမားရဲ့အခွင့်အရေးချင်းတွေကျွန်တော်အနေနဲ့ဆိုမတူတဲ့ဦးလို့မြင်တယ်ပေါ့နော်ဟောလူဒီဘွားရေးစုံလို့ပြောလိုက်လို့ရှိရင်အခြားသောအခွင့်အရေးတို့ပို့ပြီးရကြတဲ့အခါမှာအလုပ်သမားတွေလည်းသူတို့ပို့ပြီးတော့ပေးနေတယ်ပေါ့ဥပဒေကဘယ်လိုပဲပြောတာဦးနောက်လို့ Chinese စံနိုင်နဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးတော့စက်ရုံတွေမှာစက်ရုံပြုံချင်းစီမှာမလုပ်ပေးနိုင်ခဲ့တော့ကျွန်တော်တို့ရက်ရွာချေပြီး Chinese စံနိုင်တီထောင်ပေးတာတို့တွေသူတို့အထူးသဖြင့်ဆိုရင်အနေနဲ့ဆိုတော့အများကြီးလုပ်လို့ရတယ်လို့ပြောနေတယ် In my point of view, the worker in the special economic zone should be more opportunity than the worker from other industrial zone. So they should provide as the community-based Tangle Center and other supports.
ပြီးခဲ့တဲ့နှစ်ပတ်ကဒီဦးကျော်စာပေးအနောက်လုပ်ပြီးပြီးခဲ့တဲ့နှစ်ပတ်ကတော့ကျွန်တော်မိကနဲ့ကျွန်တော်မိကလည်းအစည်းအဝေးလာတဲ့အခါမှာတော့သူတို့အနေနဲ့တော့ဒီဟာနဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးပထမဆုံးစာပေးအကောင်းနေပြီဒီ3နှစ်တွင်မှာတော့ချိုင်းကဆန်တာရဲ့အကောင်းတွေပေါ်သွားမယ်ဝင်ဒီချိုင်းကဆန်တာရဲ့ဆိုရှယ်စာပန်းတွေကထုတ်ပြီးတော့အကောင်းတွေပေါ်သွားမယ်ဆိုတာဟာဒီဒေါ်လာတော့တွေ့ရတယ်ပေါ့
And according to the last 2-week workshop for this topic, the zone committee discussed about for the 3 are planned for the tanker service in the lower SEZs zone. From the social CSR fund of the employer.
Yeah, I'm just going to add before you talk. So for this project, 2 weeks ago, we launched the report here in Bangkok and had a multi-stakeholder dialogue where we invited representatives of governments, special economic zone management committees, civil society, business sector. And we had a good response from the Tilawa SEZ management saying that based on the findings from this project, that they are now conducting a 3-year plan to survey the child care needs of workers inside the zone to determine whether and how they would establish a child care facility inside the special economic zone. And they've established this corporate social responsibility fund. I think it came out of some of the land grabbing disputes. So firms inside the SEZ established a fund that they're now using to tap into different community initiatives. And so this is something they said that they could draw on in order to establish a child care center. As well, Tidwin was talking about differences that the study found in terms of overtime hours that garment factory workers were working. So inside the SEZ, we found that they had less hours of overtime per week relative to workers outside of the SEZ. I think more research would be needed to understand why these differences exist. There's only 6 garment factories inside the zone, and I think maybe need to understand the supply chains and who they're manufacturing for, and the pressure that's placed on them to produce more, but as such they were producing less and thus working less overtime. So just in relation to what he was sharing. Sayonchun, do you want to add to the question?
For method, when compared to like other migrants in Thailand, the pay wage is quite low. As you see in the presentation, they are fighting for the minimum wage, but they didn't get enough wage for themselves. They have to fight for the minimum wage. But mostly the worker they get between 100 to 300 is the maximum. Even in some factories they work also with the OT and they only get only 300 baht. So when compared to other outside of special economic zone, they still need to fight for their minimum wage. I see clearly about this one, and also the OT, and also working condition. That's the economic zone should have standard, high standard, and a good high working condition standard, and a lot of daycare, and also health facility in the factory. In Mekong, we didn't find it. In the factory, there's no health facility in the factory. There's not enough first aid material. We saw a lot of things. So this kind of for the migrant worker, it's not secure for them. And ventilation of the factory also not really good. Mostly the employer they hire cheap place to organize the factory, and also they want to get only profits, but they don't really care the worker condition.
From Cambodia, I think the difference from outside system and inside system maybe 4 points. Inside system, they are the high salary than the outside system. standard of the condition and work environment and many benefits for the worker. Yes, only to for it. Yeah. That's all.
just want to highlight one thing about Tinawa. Because Tinawa has this in Myanmar they have this child care center regulation. So, but then in order to skirt that, what they do is this discriminatory hiring practices. They hire only young unmarried women who do not have children, so that they do not have to have child care centers. So that is the norm of the hiring. So what the Tinawa SEZ is trying to do is that we would start investing in child care centers. So it's one sense trying to cut this vicious circle of trying to skirt away the regulations. So in that sense, it's a very interesting case because of the visibility of SEZ, that there are certain ways that we can pressure SEZ.
Thank you. We are happy to take questions from the audience, so if anyone has any burning questions they'd like to ask, now's the time. Yeah.
Yes, I have a few questions. Hello. Okay, I'll just talk. Oh, not working. So first, I wanted to ask if they can legally, in the countries that we're talking about, ask if a woman has children or is planning to get pregnant. And you also mentioned General Prayut's statement about the SEZs preventing more illegal migration. I wanted to know, it didn't seem like it was in really the scope of the research, but I wanted to know if on background you had any information on whether that's been effective or not. And then for the study, it seems like you had access to the workers. I wanted to know how you gained access to the workers, and because it seemed like a lot of the information wasn't really necessarily favorable to the SEZs or the factories. And then I wanted to know what the next steps are for the report. You mentioned the multi-stakeholder meeting. It sounds like that was very productive, and I wanted to know if you have some follow-up or what the next steps are. Thanks a lot.
Does anyone want to answer any of those questions?
The first question, women with children or pregnant, as it says in methods, when the worker are pregnant or has children, they tend to leave the job. This is their only solution. Because in Mekong, if you are pregnant, they don't care that you are pregnant. They will give you regular work to do. If you cannot work, you have to leave the job. And then after you bearing children, and you can come back and work, but still, you will not get the same position. You have to start as a new worker. Yeah, that's the challenges in Mekong. And also when you have children, they don't have a daycare or childcare at the factory, so they cannot come to work. So until 3 years, in Mekong there are lots of migrant learning centers, but they accept the children the age 3 years and above, not for the young children. So it's difficult for them. When they want to work, they need to hire the older women to take care of their children, or they need to bring their mothers come to Mekong and to take care of the children during when they are working. So there's a quite challenge for them. Some they don't trust the daycare, they hire the person to take care of the children. They have to go and look at very often because the children is young. So at that point, they also like the employer also doesn't like their worker to leave the job to go and look after the children very often. So when there's many times they force the worker to leave the job.
I'm not sure that for Mekong, because I think comparing to other SEZs, Mekong is the one mainly high migrant workers. And I think Article 64 it does apply to all the border provinces. So I'm not sure whether the lack of legal compliance of Mekong area is due to the nature of its SEZs themselves, or actually the short-term policy management of migrant workers together with xenophobia, I guess. That's why the compliance rate is so low.
Also including the question that you also had, because it was very interesting that this preventing legal migrant workers and then stopping them to come to Bangkok, and this rhetoric comes in again and again and again. Nobody believes in this. Yeah, so nobody believes in this, but still it kind of get repeated because and then it's more to appease the Thai population rather than actually believing in that they can really actually do that. So Section 64, yeah, Section 64 actually it's not considered to be a short-term policy. It is supposed because what the government said is that everybody have to come under MOU. Yeah, and then but except for the border area, we will have these special economic zones where it's Section 64 and they can start working. Actually, Section 64 was supposed to be for agriculture workers. It's supposed to be temporary workers. So that's why they have this very strange kind of 3-month kind of thing. Yeah, but then they're trying to kind of expand it to the industrial workers, which is actually very problematic because it kind of cuts off all the contracts, so they will never be able to have a stable social security. So in that sense, this is a stable, permanent kind of a policy rather than just temporary solution like a pink card. Pink card was supposed to be a temporary solution, but this is not considered to be a temporary solution. So and then about how to gain access, because actually we are very all the organization are working with migrant workers on a daily basis. So that's why so that's why they have a very special access. So it is very much their work that is have come up with this product of the findings. And then also this multi-sectors stakeholder meeting, which was also very problematic in a sense that we got a lot of buy-in from the business and the government in terms of childcare center as well as skill development. So there was a lot of agreement that yes, skill is important for the government workers. And so the next step actually, especially for Tilawa, is that they're going to monitor, and then Tilawa SEZs have also invited the trade unions to come and train workers and have some meeting and dialogue on a regular basis. So that we find it a very important step that we were able to get from the project and the workshop.
Do any of you want to add more about how you found respondents for the study? Like how you found the workers to do the surveys, to do the interviews? Because I know what we learned was accessing workers inside special economic zones is not easy. So if you wanted to share how you were able to find workers who were willing to participate in the study.
So, Tilawa, you know, through Manaso and Logo and Naso Yamucho, Liga look at Yoya, Jano, Savico was suddenly Chenga Chamber. I did not very much see the Lucasias with no shy. Who are Magalua, look my low pay, Sias, she then was an old Tisa who chose I, our master and walk. Now, Tilawa, who do I look my, you never got a ဆောင်ရွက်ပေးနေတဲ့အဖွဲ့အစည်းအများကြီးမရှိဘူးအဲ့တော့ကျွန်တော်က local base organization တွေကျွန်တော်ချိတ်တယ်ပြီးတော့နောက်ကသူတို့ရွာတွေကိုကျွန်တော်တို့စမ်းတနည်းနည်းတွေတွေမှာကျွန်တော်တို့ရွာတွေကိုသွားဆင်းတယ်ရွာတွေသွားဆင်းပြီး information တွေယူတယ်ကျွန်တော်စာပေးကောက်လို့ရတာဆိုတော့အောက်ဆုံးဆင်းရတာရှိတယ်ရပ်ကွက်အဖွဲ့အစည်းတွေအကူအညီယူပြီးဆောင်ရတာရှိတယ်ပေါ့
It is very difficult to assess the worker in lower SEZs because all of they are the local people and so they come to the ward at the mornings and they come back at the evening, so at the night time. So when we start our service, we try to collaborate with the local CSO organization, and we have to try to meet with the labor during their holiday, like Sunday. And we try to meet with them in their village.
For method, it's not. We don't have like this kind of like follow-up. It's kind of like a community. Method community is very close together. A lot of factories like nearby and you can access, but still, most workers they work for the whole week and they don't have a holiday. And when they have time like on Sunday and they don't have OT, we can get them to interview. If not, we cannot get them to interview. And also their payday, when they get the wages, the payday, they get holiday. It's a special day for them. And we also need to listen, need to contact them every time, like to get the worker to interview. So it's on payday and also like no tea time that we can get them to interview. And after no tea time is by like after 5 p.m. So mostly night time.
Cambodia, I think SEZ in Cambodia is a private factory. So we can't do interview inside factory. So we can ask information from the worker that work inside outside SEZ. And when we get information, we can go around the renting room to ask the owner of the renting room and can ask appointment to ask the interview with them.
Thank you. I know that there's a question. I think we can take maybe 2 more questions. Yeah. Sorry. I'm going to start with the one behind you because I saw before, so then we'll go to you after.
Thank you for your talk and everything. And I was wondering if you can give us a breakdown of the kind of nationals of the employers. You know, is there a lot of Taiwanese employers, or are they mostly Thai? And also talking about the how do you incentivize, how do you make the employers want to do corporate social responsibility? Is it because there's a stamp on your product that says fair labor or fair trade? Like, what is that? How do you push that agenda?
Okay, and we'll take the final question as well. Still have a question? Yeah.
Yeah, so just wonder, like, because in Thai and Metro area, like all the labor laws apply, like protection act, and so on, and the fact that from like the social security.
Sorry, do you mind using the mic?
Yeah, so just want to ask about like the area of Massaw that it seems like all the laws apply in the SEZ zone. And so I wonder like what are the factors that make the working condition there is worse than other areas of Thailand?
Okay. Yes, we'll take one more. Yeah.
Hi, Daniel from Revelation. Just a quick one on the border pass. This is something relatively new, and we see a lot of migrants coming in to Thailand, with this kind of documents. There's also something called certificate of identity. If someone could just explain the difference between the two, because these are two quite new documents. Thank you.
Okay. And given the time, unfortunately, that's all the questions we can take. But we will hang around after if anyone wants to ask us anything else. So just to summarize, the first question was about the nationalities of employers. Where are they coming from? Taiwan, Japan, as well as about corporate social responsibility and how do you get employers to buy into this. We were also asked about the working conditions in Medisot, TAC, that although Thai national laws apply, why is the situation there worse? And then about the difference between the border pass and the certificates of identity. I think Sion is ready to answer some of these questions that are Medisot related.
I will answer Medisot question first. There are laws, but not applying all. In Medisot, we also have like a lot of NGO, a lot of INGO based in Medisot, but still cannot fight for the minimum wage and also for the safety condition. In Medisot, for the factory, there's factory check, we call POPO, right? There's only in TAC area, only 2 POPO, and the factory is 500. So how can they check every factory in a month? And how can they know like this kind of thing? So they cannot check everything, so they cannot get the results for the condition of working. In my organization FPD, we also like last 3 years we have the capacity building for the worker related to like occupational safety and health, and we go to the factory and factory to factory, and we know in detail like they don't have this kind of like safety enough for their like fire extinguisher. They also didn't uptake and they don't have enough for the factory. And the electric wire, they are very old, and we don't know when this will burn in the factory. Yeah, and the fan as well. It's quite old. The building also is quite old. And for the law, for migrant workers in Medisot, they also don't. Not every worker have a document, legal document. Even there's Section 64, and they also have undocumented worker. So when we talk about the law, they are like afraid to ask for their rights, and that is the problem for them. Like law cannot apply for this group of workers. Even they have document like for Section 64 or other document, their employer they keep the document. They keep the document because they want to like extend like money Section 64. Before worker they have a CI PIN card, but the employer change it to Section 64 without asking the permission from the employee. They did it in Medisot as well. So So the employer said we want to extend the document. When they extend, they don't even know that what kind of document. And then it's section 64. So they do not have the chance to hold the original document. They only get a copy. So by holding the copy, when you go around and the police check, so where's your right? Right? Can you show the police, this is my document. It's only copy. Where's the original? You cannot answer. You said you're an employer, but you cannot call your employer. Okay. Yeah. This kind of thing happen in Mesa. The employee itself, they don't have the chance to hold their original document. So this means that how can they get the what are the law in Thai law, labor law? They said every worker they have the right to hold their original document. Like if someone take your document, it's violate the law. So it doesn't apply to Mesa. No law cover for worker.
Could you quickly explain the difference between the certificate of identity and the border pass that is section 64?
For CI, the green book, certificate of identity, like the last changes like from pink card to CI to check this where are you from in Myanmar, right? So this the last version of like temporary passport to CI, pink card to CI. Yeah, you can apply this, and the CI is lasts for 2 years. You can get a 2-year work permit, a 2-year visa. You can go around like in Thailand only. Yeah. You can move to Bangkok and you can work in Bangkok by transferring like your employer to Bangkok. You can work in Bangkok. But for section 64, it's only for the border area. For Mesa, only like Propra, Myanmar, and Mesa only. So you cannot work for other provinces. Even in these 3 districts, there are some tambon. How do you call it? Yeah, tambon. Yeah, you can. That's not allowed to work in some tambon as well. But for section 64, you cannot come to Bangkok. You cannot across province. You can work only in the zone, like in the limited 3 districts. And the short term, like Professor Kyoko already explained, is short term, but most workers they apply for the long term.
Thank you. Given that we've already got over our time limit, maybe if someone could just respond about the question about employers' nationalities and CSR.
I think this nationality issue is very important, interesting because it also shapes the culture of employment in that particular SEZ. So for example, like Kinawa SEZ is very much Japanese, Phnom Penh SEZ is very much Japanese. And then what happens is that because the Japanese investors have their own network, Taiwanese SEZ, Manhattan is a Taiwanese SEZ, and then Taiwanese SEZ have their own network. So they have the employers, because they speak the same language, they have their own line group, and then they kind of exchange information together. So that kind of exchange information is very much there. So that's why, for example, the Japanese investors, they would tell each other that, okay, I'm offering lunch services to my employer, so this is the practice, so why don't you do that as well? So in one sense, that also creates a certain pressure to do something better. Actually, SEZ is very sensitive to reputation. So because it also is very visible and all that, so that's why they are trying to, if other people are doing it, okay, maybe I should also do. So that's this kind of reputation sensitivity is quite high, which we find that there is an opportunity to do that something better. However, TAC is a little bit of a problem because TAC is doing like this can get away with it. Yeah, so that in time that kind of reputation sensitivity is not very much there. And then they ask the workers to sign 2 documents, and then they pay less, and then but the document says that they are paying minimum wage. So that kind of thing it still happens in TAC SEZs, and then they are, so the reason why TAC is like this is just because they can get away with it. So, but if they cannot get away with it, if the reputation problems become much more of an issue, and then they will be forced to change. So that is what we are also looking at. Actually, in the border pass and CI issue, CI is for the whole country. So if you want to work in Bangkok, you have to have a CI. But then border pass is only for these border provinces. So so one time expenditure for border pass is cheap. But then in the end of the day, you have to reapply many times because it's very short, no 1 month, 2, 3 months. So that's why if you want to stay for 2 years, 1 year, and then the payment, accumulated payment is actually larger than CI. So that is the biggest differences between CI and border pass.
Okay, thank you. Can we get another round of applause for all of our speakers? And thank you so much for joining us and for all of your questions. I believe there's tea and snacks outside. Yes. So please feel free to join us for refreshments. And we thank C Junction for hosting this event tonight. Thank you.